even before we came here and our magical being was being formed inside our mother's uterus, even before we even had a gender, even before we even were a man, even before we were a woman, we existed. We existed. You had life before anyone knew what your gender was for 3 whole months. There's a reason for that. And I'm starting to realize that the reason men and women get into so much contention, and we've gone either too far left or too far right, or we both have complexes. Okay? We're leaning so deeply and holding on for dear life to our gender that we forget that we're both bound by the same laws of the universe. And the reason there's so much contention, the reason that we're going at each other online, offline, okay, using our triggers against each other left and right, is because we forgot that even before your gender, you're a soul. You're a soul. If I cut you, I guarantee you will bleed. Man or woman. Man or woman, if I cut you, you're going to bleed. Man or woman, if I throw you off a ledge, your ass will hit the ground. Okay? You're bound by the same laws of the universe. And sometimes we lean a little too far left and a little too far right. I want to talk about entitlement. It's something that I'm going to say. Some ladies might be upset about me, but I like balance because I feel like that's the ultimate truth. I like a lot of balance in everything. And yes, as a woman, we're going to have certain privileges. We're going to have certain things that are naturally going to come to us. We have our powers. And yes, we have divinity as well. Okay, where other religions fail, some religions give our divinity right back. Yes, granted. And if you're on here and you're a brother, you're divine masculine. You have powers that the world probably couldn't even comprehend if you're on here and you're divine masculine. And there are certain rites of passage that you will hold that a woman won't hold. Okay. There are things that are particular and peculiar and special and rare about a woman that a man will never see, understand, ever come to understand. And I think that the universe, Gaia, God, the Most High, Allah, Jehovah, is brilliant in giving us both a certain amount of powers that the other one doesn't have. It's brilliant. This came to me in a meditation. This came to me today, all throughout the day, that the core of our issues, okay, is that each one of us want to have certain things that we say. We want to be entitled somehow to have certain privileges just because. I'm a woman, so I'm entitled just because. There's just certain things. Bow down. Stay with me. Stay with me, because this particular video comes straight from source. I know that because it's not leaning in too far into the femininity or too far into the masculinity. That's how I know it's not for me, because I am biased. Don't get it twisted. I'm a woman. I'm going to be biased all day. But this particular message, I got to be honest, it didn't come down just for women. They actually gave it to me in a really gangster kind of way. They told me that most relationships are just sex slavery. Stay with me. Most relationships are just sex slavery. And I don't mean the trafficking type of sex slavery. If you're a guy and you think just because you're a man, there's certain things she must do, gonna do, submit to, because you're the man and she's the woman, you don't have a relationship or a partner. You have a sex slave. Why? Because she's enslaved by her sex to you. And I don't care what your culture, religion, creed, background is, okay? What you read anywhere. If this relationship doesn't include her ability to tap into, okay, realize, be herself, actually have a semblance of freedom in who she is as a person. While she is with you, she does not have a partner in you. She has a slave master. What that means is, because she's a woman, she's enslaved to you and all the things you say she must submit to. Disclaimer, there's going to be a lot of people that are not going to like this. Probably some men people. I'm not sure why, because I got something for the ladies too. Okay, be patient. Wait for it. This is not about talking just to men or women. This isn't even my message. So resist the urge to shoot the messenger. But I'm not biting my tongue on this one. I understand, disclaimer, some people are not going to love me anymore because I'm going to say things they don't want to hear. Okay. Respectfully, my love, you may exit the chat at this point. Go in peace and all the best to you. But if you're still on here, you can handle this. This ain't my message. What I was told is most relationships are actually sex slavery, because we're enslaved by our sex, and we think just because we're a man or just because we're a woman, we get to make the other person our slave. Oh, I'm a divine feminine, and certain things just need to come to me because I'm a receiver, you see. And while that's scientifically true, we are the receivers. We're only receivers because they're givers. It doesn't mean we get to subordinate him either. Relationships were supposed to be this blissful thing that we get into to sort of exercise and understand the other part of ourselves through this person. It's supposed to be happy, right? It's supposed to test us and chisel us. We're both supposed to be happy. It's happy spouse, happy house, not just happy wife, happy life. Although that's adorable and endearing. And don't get it twisted. I'm in a lot of sister circles. Some of them are healthier than others. I don't necessarily agree with everything that I hear, but I'm not going to sit here devoid of wisdom and start yelling at women about, well, marriage has no benefit to men. That's not true. That lacks wisdom. That lacks any wisdom. No worries, I don't just speak. I'll explain to you why. It lacks complete wisdom. Chances are you've never been married. You're very young. You might as well have been born 21 minutes ago. You might as well have been born 21 minutes ago if you're saying marriage has no benefit to men. Marriage has colossal benefits for both men and women when you're dealing with healed people. It actually benefits the whole community. How do you build a dynasty without couples? How do you build a dynasty without official couples who took the leap and had the integrity to sign their contract, their relationship contract, and put that joint on paper? Stay with me. Marriage is a beautiful thing. As a matter of fact, let's digress and go into the benefits of marriage for both men and women. Both men and women. Marriage brings families together. Marriage shows that you're willing to make this commitment out loud. You're not hiding in a corner, okay, so that things could go on with you or her behind all these closed doors and there's no accountability. It shows that you respect both tribes, your tribe and his tribe, and you want them to come together. You have enough integrity to do this thing out loud. You have enough integrity to respect the union, okay? You have enough respect and love, and you're making this choice wholeheartedly and willingly. No one forces you down the aisle. It brings back some of the best times I've had have been at other people's weddings. Weddings are an opportunity, for also the people at the wedding. If we were not so selfish, we would understand who comes to weddings, your families. People meet each other at weddings. Some of the best times I've ever had have been other people's weddings. Okay, singles get to meet each other, first of all. We've all come here to celebrate this union. Regardless of what culture, we were getting married since the beginning of time. There were weddings in Egypt. They were done differently, totally differently. They weren't Eastern or Western. Each culture has their spin on it. But weddings are a beautiful time. There's a lot of integrity behind that. Financially, it makes sense for both if you know why you're getting married. If you have a vision, if you intend to stay together, it deters either one of you from turning into a quitter or deciding any little time there's a problem, I'm just going to find someone to replace her. I'm just going to find someone to replace him. Any little problem, jump ship. That is so convenient. You can't even dissolve a business that fast, but we want to dissolve whole relationships just because somebody did something you didn't like, or I didn't like that. I'm out of here. Marriages on paper deter that. It makes you work a little harder to get divorced. You can still get divorced, but it's a deterrence. It makes you stop and think, hold up. Can we work this out maybe? Maybe we can work this out. Because you understand you got to pay fees, you got to pay a lawyer, right? People got to get involved. You might have to go to court. Now you're going to double think what the real problems are, because you have to speak those problems to a judge. There's a lot of benefits to marriage. Lots of benefits to marriage for both men and women, if you really think about the statement. And I'm going to say this, I don't judge anyone. If you've said that, you've said that. That's cool. Everybody's not going to know everything at all times. If you said that, you're probably young. You've probably not really spoken to too many couples. You definitely spoke to men. But it's not about just hearing viral statements and capitalizing on viral statements that men say just to repeat what they want to hear because it helps your social media. And maybe you're not doing that, but if you really think deep, there's no wisdom in saying that marriage doesn't benefit men or marriage doesn't benefit women. If you're both healed, shout out to Will and Jada. I don't know why they just came to mind. If you're both healed people or committed to growing, marriage benefits both. Now let's talk about the children, because children love married parents. Marriage provides such stability for children. Okay. I don't know where me or my sibling would be if my parents weren't they weren't married for the 12 years they were married. Which goes by in a blink. 12 years is not much at all. But even that small amount of time is the only semblance of stability that we had, because their problems or whatever they had to deal with, they were deterred from jumping ship and quitting on the relationship. Marriage supports her because people are fickle. Hello, if you have children and he might just decide to disappear off the face of the earth. We do not know how people are going to change along the way. If you have 3, 4, 5 children and he makes a little more than you and you can't support the children the same after 3, 4, 5, 4 children, there's something wrong with having a piece of paper that requires that everyone's going to be okay. Even if the marriage doesn't work out, it protects her. Only a very young, inexperienced person who did not give that statement very much thought would say that. And that's okay. I'm not here to judge. But I'm going to say what it is. There's no wisdom in that. People have been getting married before you were born, before I was born, since the beginning of time in ancient cultures for a reason. And with healed people, marriage could be the beginning of a dynasty of wealth. If you understand what you could do with marriage. Tons of tax benefits for both if you want to look at it just on that level. A lot of stability for children. If you're even thinking along those lines, for serious people, for serious men who want a family, marriage is wonderful. Men propose all the time without being forced. They want to get married. The traditional classic man wants to get married. He doesn't mind. And I've heard quite a few younger content creators, not just one, I've heard a few younger content creators repeat that. because they're clearly repeating what they might be hearing. Obviously, the ideas of a lot of modern men. There's a modern man too. There's a modern woman and there's a modern man. But I want to get off of that because I digress. Let's talk about this soul space. Let's talk about being a human being, a soul having a human experience. Let's stay there. I already said marriage has benefits to both parties. And I could chop that up with you all day. I stand by that. Some of the best times of my life have been at weddings. Not just for the aspect of the event, okay? But to stand beside someone, especially a couple that's gone through a lot, that didn't have to get married. Okay. Where there was a journey, seeing how different people do it, how they spin it. I don't see one thing wrong with it. Yes, financially, he might take an L if they get divorced. Okay, well, stick it out. Don't propose. There are a lot of couples who actually stay together. My aunt and uncle, one of them, I think they did almost 35 years. They never got divorced. It might be in the minority, but guess what? Real people with real integrity and real missions, they're also in the minority. So just because something is not rampant and it's rare doesn't mean it has no benefit. But going back to being a little too far to the left and a little too far to the right, there's more sex slavery than anything else, okay? There's a divine masculine, and I see a lot more of that stepping up. I see people stepping up into their purpose, their mission. But I'm going to say this, and again, you may not want to hear this. You might want to click off. But I'm not going to strangle myself or bite my tongue when I know something needs to be said and it's right. There's nothing that a man or woman gets to do just because they're a man or just because they're a woman, especially if there's something inside of it that it's just not right. Okay, that disrespects laws of the universe like free will or mutual respect or consideration and all the different things that we're all bound by. There's a reason before you were a man or before you were a woman, you were growing, okay? You were existing. Before they even knew your sex. And so the ultimate, most important part of you to honor is your soul space. And we both have that. As I said in the beginning, if I cut you, you're bleeding. If I push you off a ledge, you're done. You're derobing when you go to the bathroom. And if I do something to your mama, you will cry. We all have emotions. I've seen very emotional men. They just express their emotions differently. More so with their actions than their words. But I'll just pretend not to notice. Men express emotions differently than women, but we all have them. You could be a man, you could be a masculine man, you could be all man, and that's good. I want you to be. But that doesn't give you a free pass to do anything that you might know intrinsically may not be the best move to a woman, to your woman. Or ask her to overextend herself and continually, constantly just give you a pass because you're so human. Just give you a pass and be so patient and be so this and give and give and give. Because you're just human, right? And prioritize you when you're not offering that. And prioritize you when she's far from your priority. I said this in my last video. How does that work? Just because you're the man and you have the grand vision, right, for the family, she has to bleed out, literally bleed out and overextend without replenishment. And by replenishment, I don't just mean sex. Okay. She has to be invested in as well, not just financially. But you've got to feed into her in all these different ways too. To organize a relationship, yes, I'm told that it's best to have roles, okay? And to maximize and get as, grounded in your masculinity and your femininity as possible. It's a journey for me. I don't know who's out there, who's perfect, who's the ultimate feminine. Good for you. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. But it's a journey, especially if we didn't really witness the most masculine man or the most feminine women. But there is such a thing called toxic femininity and toxic masculinity. And this is what I'm talking about today. You don't just get to because you're a man or just because you're a woman, just because it's never a reason to do anything. Let's look at the ladies. Like I said, I'm a part of a lot of circles. And I hear some stuff that I'm going to tell you, I was raised better than that. Yes, we get certain amount of privileges. And yes, when you're in a relationship based on our specialty and our mastery, brothers need to take care of. Absolutely. In certain relationships, we shouldn't even consider if he's not grounded, okay, in certain levels, especially practically and financially. And that's a given because you might have children. You might, want to really get into your femininity, and it helps for him to lay that foundation. Absolutely. Doesn't mean we turn into Godzilla as opposed to being a goddess and have this ungrateful, entitled air about us. And prance around in a way that we weren't doing in the beginning. As soon as we get married, we prance around like he's supposed to buff the floor that we walk on. Okay? Always have it all together all the time. I'm going to tell you a story. And I think this is the best. I was uncomfortable when I experienced this, but I realized this was a gift. I'm not going to name any names, but this is the best way I could describe Bridezilla and Godzilla, right? And the things that a woman can turn into if she's not grateful. And if she chooses, just because she's a divine femme, to try to use her mate or be extra about her role as a divine feminine. Because some women do go extra. And I'm going to tell you right now, there are wicked women. Point blank, period. I think the whole world knows that. I didn't say women are wicked. I'm a woman. Why would I say that? It's not the case. There are wicked women. So I'm in a situation where I am taking care of some children plural. There was a time where I was kind of like the nanny in the family. It just started off by me, helping out one family member because they had a bunch of kids and they traveled. And then it gets around the family, and then I'm helping out this other family, and then I'm somewhere else. And at the time it was great for me too, because I had a blast doing it. But there were some times where I was caught in the middle constantly of couples that were having problems. We're not going to name any names, but so I'm watching my girl nieces, and I remember she was having, my cousin, which is the mother, she's having an argument with her husband. And she's screaming at the top of her lungs, okay? Like, I got a headache. Everybody got a headache. But I'm not saying anything because she's my cousin. And I'm like, what is going on? So I go downstairs. And the problem, apparently, that was so dramatic was that he gave her $1,000 to go shopping, right? Stay with me. And apparently $1,000 wasn't enough because she needed $2,000 because there were 2 kids. And where she shops, $1,000 is not enough to go shopping. So she's screaming all day at the top of her lungs. So she's looking at me and she's like, look what he gave me. Look what he gave Just like that, like exactly like I just yelled. And I'm not saying nothing. I'm looking at this $1,000 that she has in her hand that she's yelling. She wants me to agree with her because it's not enough, you see, because there's 2 children and she needs 1,000 each. And I'm like, I said nothing. And she was mad at me because I didn't take up for her. And I'm like, so I just said, maybe go to Walmart or Target. And she's yelling at me. She's like, this between me and my husband. It's between me and my husband. She's upset with me because I didn't agree with her. So I went upstairs. I put myself on timeout. I'm like, it's none of my business. I'm out. But I'm going to be honest with you, cousin or not, she was wrong. Top of her lungs, big fight, just because she got $1,000 instead of $2,000 to go shopping. When I'm like, damn, I know families with 5 children who don't have a $300 budget. They got to split that 5 ways to go shopping for the day. Yes, you want them to have certain clothes, but I'm like, damn. And I still wouldn't agree with her. I was like, no, she's wrong. She's wrong. Because you see, just because the man, he had money. Her husband was very well. They have a company. But just because a man has money, right, doesn't mean that when he gives it to you, you have this entitled air about you. It's not just the money. You see, I'm talking huge house, live well. Most people will be jealous of their life. 2 beautiful babies. And it's the end of the world because you only get 1,000 instead of 2,000? That's disgusting. That's spoiled. That's ungrateful. And angry with me because I wouldn't take her side. You were wrong. And that's the attitude that we have. See, it's not about, yes, of course he should provide, but he did provide. You just felt like it wasn't enough in that moment. It's not the last money you're ever going to see, number one. Number two, just because a person has, maybe they want to do other things with the other part of the money. Maybe the clothes, okay, could be bought in different places. Maybe you can get more money to shop at some other point. Maybe some of that money could be invested so that the family could grow money. Just because somebody has money doesn't mean they have to give it all to you at that moment, especially when you already have a good life. And so the energy was entitlement, it was ungrateful, and it was like just yelling at this man like he was one of the children. That part is not right. But she was doing that just because she was the wife, happy life. So she took that sex role, the role of being a woman, and tried to make him a sex slave just because she's a woman. She was wrong. You don't have to be extra. You still want to have the energy of being grateful. People are doing worse than you, my love. And so, yes, women are guilty of making men their sex slave. Men are guilty of making women their sex slave, which is why I said in the video before, when you start to try to subordinate somebody, you know you've gone a bit too far. That's the message I got. None of that belongs in relationships. It just doesn't. Take it to work, maybe even take it to school, take it in business, but leave that shit at the door when you go into your home. It's not the recipe for a happy home. How do I qualify to even say this? I've lived through a lot of this, number one. Witnessed a lot of this, lived through a lot of this, learned for the benefit of both my experience and others. And I trust myself on this one. I know, there's always going to be someone who doesn't like what you say or doesn't want to like you anymore because you said it one day, and that's okay. There's some girls that probably, revoked my female card for calling that out. because we're divine feminines. And we're just supposed to keep receiving. So there's levels to everything, and there are definite limits in a relationship. It's really not just about that. That attitude of gratitude, that's real talk. The energy, which is really the only thing that's real, that's also a big factor. I'm in a lot of female circles. A lot of it I use. Some of it, trust me, has been very helpful in terms of just some basic things. But there's a lot of little discrepancies. A lot of little discrepancies. And stuff we got to tweak. Everything has a balance. And I think that that's what the fact that we forget before you are a guy, before, he's a man and you're a woman, before all of that, if you can't be used, you can't use. Okay? Everything is going to have a balance. And if you truly appreciate this person you're with, you won't have that energy either way. If you truly appreciate this woman, this wife that you have, that you want, that you require to submit to you, your energy, your consideration, how you are with her, she'll feel safe, she'll feel respected. You'll look for every minute of the day that you can to let her know she's appreciated, that you're grateful that she's even there. The minute she starts to feel like it's this job that she can't keep up with, she's a sex slave to you. And if it wasn't right for the white man, how is it right for us? This is part one of a bill. This has 4 parts, but this sex slavery thing was the hugest. I needed to put that out there. Today's download is that most relationships are elements of sex slavery, the real sex slavery. The one that we've made legal somehow, just because of our, culture, beliefs. And we know a lot of elements of culture need to be corrected. We know that. We know that. Background, traditions. A lot of traditions. There's people getting circumcised against their will right now. Okay, in South Africa. Men and women. That's culture and tradition as well. Just violate your free will, your body, deafen your spirit, and traumatize your whole traumatization. And that's their culture. And so every piece of every religion is not necessarily to be taken into the future. They gave us our foundation. Okay. They gave us a little bit of a blueprint, but we need to, as real gods and goddesses, make the corrections and upgrade these cultures where we see fit. Thanks for jumping on Change Our Life, and I can't exactly read that one. But you're looking quite handsome. Wanderson. I need to start wearing my glasses. I'm getting so young, I'm gonna need to start wearing glasses. I wish people could actually comment on these videos. Can you? There's a third person on here. Thanks for jumping on. Share this video, please. Okay, there's some serious builds that are coming down the pipe. I don't have enough time to keep up with them. But this one is quite important to me just moving forward because it lays the foundation for some other stuff that I need to share as Aza on the Healing House of Kadraj. Everything I say here, if you're going to use any of it, have a little integrity about it. Okay, at least mention where you heard it first. I'm big on that. I don't care how we justify our cuteness and using each other's content, but build one another just like you want people to help build you. I think that's the only thing that has any real integrity behind it. I don't care what your reasoning is. Okay, a lot of times, and this is not for today's conversation, but we have our own devices and our own reasons for saying this because we think people lack discernment. We label everything God, and I don't mean God as in you're a God, I'm a goddess. I mean the Most High. Let the Most High be the Most High. Okay. A lot of times we have our thoughts, we have our little plans, and it sounds pretty to say and bring, the Most High and everything when it's not the case. And I don't bite my tongue when I say that, because I've learned too many different lessons, too many different spaces where people do that exact same thing. No, people are people, and they're gonna do what people do. And when you take something, at least acknowledge that person, just like you would want to be done with and for you. Keep it simple. Okay? Treat others how you want to be treated. Thanks for watching, y'all. Share this live. Okay, that's your homework. I usually like to give actual questions as a takeaway. You have nothing to do but share this, okay? I poured my heart into this, okay? Let's do the reciprocation thing this year. 2025, moving forward. If the relationship is not feeding you as much as you fed it, okay, you reserve the right to keep it pushing. Okay, balancement. Love y'all. Thanks for watching. Hope that helped. And one of y'all going to show me how to end this live video, because I don't know. We did it with no problem yesterday.